welcome to all our friends from all around the world, our subscribers, our well-wishers, our supporters, for our fourth season of AGORA. For those of you who have been attending this regularly or hearing our podcast or watching us on YouTube, you would know that we started this at the height of the pandemic, where we were all locked in with no opportunities to have those enriching conversations with our dear friends from around the world. So we said that we must do something about it. And that's where AGORA was born, where we were inviting friends and other thought leaders into our living room to have a conversation that could spark new ideas, create innovative solutions, and generally help impact our zeitgeist towards betterment. We are located here in New York City, and I am delighted to welcome our first guest for the fourth season. His name is Rasmus Berghausen, who's based in Austria. He's a world-renowned expert on sound, light, color for therapeutical purposes. And he's got a fantastic journey in how he has spent professional growth in helping people in furthering these therapeutical goals. Please join me in welcoming Rasmus from a very scenic location, which is his residence in Austria. And it's wonderful to have you on the show, Rasmus.
Yes, hello. Thank you for the invitation. So I hope you can hear me well. I'm sitting in my garden, so if there's sometimes a noise, it's my neighbor that's just passing by a child. So, but it's gone in 1 minute, in 10 seconds.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be fine. I would rather have a little disturbance, to have such a beautiful background. And I mean, for those of you who are looking at it going, is this one of those Zoom screensavers, or a Zoom background? No, it's a real background for. So my first question, Rasmus, I'm intrigued. I mean, I've known you a few years now through conferences, and we spoke at a conference together in Pittsburgh as well. And I've always been thrilled to see how you tie the multiple threads that exist, within the healing modalities, how you tie them together, how you relate them to each other. So, that's you now, right? But tell me about your journey, maybe the past 30, 40 years of, how you went towards this. Your work in Japan with Dr. Mato and so on and so forth. I'm just very curious. I'm sure the audience worldwide would love to know how your journey has progressed. Yeah. So over to you.
I can try to summarize it very brief. Well, when I was young, I always wanted to become a Greenpeace activist to save the planet. I never became part of Greenpeace, but that was my motivation. Yes, I play instruments. My father is a musician, so I played 10 years violin and piano and guitar and percussion. I got my first guitar when I was 6 years old. So I was a lot confronted with music and played tablas when I was a child. So I played a lot of instruments, but with 16, I tried to escape all this, let's say, spiritual or music area. And when I started to study in Vienna, I studied chemistry, ecology, and I got specialized in water chemistry. And then I got a scholarship for Denmark. I studied there agricultural science, got also specialized in chemistry. And yeah, this is a little bit my journey as a student. And then together with my father, we invited Dr. Emoto because I had 2 degrees in water chemistry, and we heard about this Japanese gentleman who thought that you can change the water structure, and this was very interesting for me. So, and afterwards, after we invited him, he invited me to Japan. So I stayed in his laboratory for a while. I lived there in Japan. And 2004, after I finished all my studies in Vienna and Denmark, I opened the first water laboratory, the first, the only international laboratory of Dr. Emoto in Europe. And this was 2004. Yeah, and then I was very fortunate that I could travel with Dr. Emoto around the planet for about 11 years. So I went to almost all countries around, and And yeah, this was kind of a journey, and I was very fortunate because Emoto always said that I have to give lectures, and I thought, what should I talk about? And so he shared in the beginning actually from the beginning his lecture time with me, so I could give a little bit lecture about the work I was doing. I did, of course, the work with Emoto, but I did also other kind of water research. And yes, Emoto was invited to Russia, but he didn't want to go to Russia. And then I went to Russia. It was the beginning of my 30s. And then I spent actually about 4 years, I went to Russia back and forward. I didn't live there, but it was like every month I went. And because Russia is a spot, I would say, to new science, to, you can also call it crazy science or not conventional science, to other ideas. And this was very nice. So this was a little bit my journey. And when Dr. Emoto died, 2014, I opened my own laboratory, which I have now here in Austria. So that's a little bit like a brief shortcut of my life. Yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So the work that you did with Dr. Emoto, for those of us who are not familiar with his work, it's basically, you said that his main hypothesis was that you could use music and sound to change the structure of the water molecules, right? That was basically the big
yeah. Well,
work.
Emoto was
Could you tell us a little bit more? Yeah.
He was very esoteric, you can say, very philosophical. He said that if you pray to the water, or if you play music to the water, or whatever, put different frequencies to water, the water structure changes. That was his claim. And he was, of course, very, let's say, philosophically, because he said that he said that Mozart music looks like this and Beethoven music looks like this. This is, of course, not science, because we cannot repeat the sample. But at least he's right in that term, that we can see that water reacts on vibration. That's for certain. And this has been proven. Many scientists today, the most famous maybe in the States is Gerald Pollack, who talks about the fourth phase of water, that the water structure changes. And in Russia is a very famous, very interesting scientist called Vladimir Voikov, showing also that you change the pH of the water by frequency, by different kinds of frequency from external frequencies. So, but Emoto was right that water reacts on it, and that beauty is a kind of quality, because in science, beauty has nothing to do. People say water is just H2O and the content inside, but there's more, and the structure of the water is very interesting. And Dr. Emoto, he got very famous. He wrote a book, for the people who don't know him. He wrote a book called Messages from Water.
Yeah, you said a very interesting thing, that he had a philosophical view on water and how water reacts. So I'm guessing that you understood where he was coming from, but you didn't totally agree with his approach, and that you wanted a more scientific dissection of the theories. Is that a safe assumption for me to understand from what you said?
Yes. In the beginning, I thought it's completely nonsense what he was talking about, because I have 2 degrees in water chemistry, and there's a guy coming saying you pray to the water and then it changed the structure, and that's pretty heavy to accept. But still, you know, when you are finished university, you are arrogant and you think you know everything, and that's the funny thing, is actually you know, in the beginning of knowing anything. Right. And the interesting thing is that water is not just a liquid, whatever, like any other liquid. Water has a special ability. This means that water can react from external vibrations. And the reason is, I don't want to become too chemical now, but water is H2O, and an H2O molecule connects with another H2O molecule. But this connection, that's just to outbalance the polarity. But this connection is so weak that in 1 second, the water molecule makes up to 1 billion connections. So there's more movement here in the water than in any other liquid, you can say, on this planet. So, and this is why we have this diversity. This is why we have not 2 humans which are the same, or not 2 leaves on the tree which are the same. Because the moment, for example, a water crystal appears, a snowflake, at the moment the water freezes, the vibration surrounding this little droplet is unique. It's always unique, which means there's always a unique water crystal appearing. And this is, I think, this is the main, let's say, reason why we have this diversity, or the only reason on this planet. This is why we have not 2 trees and 2 humans the same. And this is the beauty. And in relation to science, scientists say this is not scientific because you don't make the same picture, but it's not possible. So, but I must say today, Emoto is completely right. Of course, he was with a philosopher, but we can see that water reacts very strong, especially also our body water. If we get angry, we change our body pH. If we get afraid, we get literally sour, acid. And the interesting thing is actually it's a lack of electrons. So this is very interesting. And this is actually caused by the water, because the moment we get afraid or fear or upset or whatever, actually we lose electrons, we lose coherence, we lose actually the form, the structure of our water, our body liquids.
So have you also connected to what Dr. Emoto did as philosophical underpinnings, and clearly after so many years of working with this, have you also been looking at the three gunas that come from Ayurveda, which connects you to the water element in your body? That when your balances are off, that's because your water element and your fire element are creating problems. Have you done any research on that as well?
I have not worked with Ayurveda so far, but what I have done a lot, I mean, probably it's the same what I have been doing. I have tested a lot of body liquids. It doesn't matter if it's saliva or blood or urine or whatever liquid you can extract from the body and examine. And it's very interesting to see the moment you are eccentric, you're out of your center, the droplet doesn't drop conically to the center, it drops to the side. So it's very interesting. So you can see if you are centered or not. Of course, it's stupid to take a saliva drop, put it on the glass slide, and then diagnose whatever kidney problem. That's nonsense. That's why we have the hospitals. But this would be coffee cup reading, which is maybe a little bit too esoteric. But we can see that the structure itself reflects like a kind of order in your body. For example, I did a lot of testing with amniotic liquid from pregnant women, and I wanted to see how the ultrasound affects the amniotic liquid, the structure. For me, it was like the holy water in our body surrounding the little baby. And the interesting thing is we could see that the ultrasound has an effect on the structure of the amniotic liquid. Amniotic liquid under the microscope looks beautiful, just beautiful. And the interesting thing is when you apply ultrasound, you can change the structure and the harmonic goes. But the interesting thing was in this research was that if a pregnant woman was very centered, we could hardly change the structure of the amniotic liquid. But when she was very afraid, we could very easily change the amniotic liquid structure with the ultrasound. So this is what we can see also nowadays with all the crises we have. The moment you are afraid, fear is the biggest danger of all, because it really takes our pH down, and when the pH drops in our body, acidity rises, then we just have to wait for the disease we get. Mm-hmm.
So the methodologies that you've been researching, and I'm sure the audience would love to see that in terms of how you can impact the pH levels and the balance. The measure of the balance within you is really your pH level in your body, the water in your body, right? That's so if you're afraid, then it's kind of going sour and more acidic. And if you're calm, and like the heart rate variability work that you do, that if you're calm, then it's more on the positive side.
Yeah, it's very simple to explain. It's actually a matter of coherence. It's resonance and coherence, which means we're surrounded by nature. So the nature is vibrating, and we are getting in resonance with it, and then we get coherent. Coherent means if you have a lady and a man and they start to dance together, they become coherent, which means she moves according to him and he according to her. That means coherence. And now the interesting thing is this water molecule here inside, oscillating like crazy, you can say. The moment light from outside comes, or ultrasound or infrared or whatever, the moment the water molecule starts to react on this. And if this is, let's call it a harmonic frequency, the water molecules become coherent. So which means they start to grab each other's arms. And then suddenly, if people who want to learn this in detail, they should research Gerald Pollack, very beautiful in the States. And he showed in the calculation that you get an excess of electrons, sorry, my English. So this is the funny thing is, so actually you can say if you give a person a hug, you exchange electrons and you get enriched by electrons. So this is the funny thing. When we hear good music, good sound, good vibration, good light, we actually create energy in our body. The moment we are afraid, the moment you are afraid, you're not in the present state. And the moment you're not in the present state, Eckhart Tolle wrote a lot about a present state, Krishnamurti wrote a lot about this. So the moment you are not in the present state, you are not coherent. And then you lose the electricity. And this is what I try with all my work, is to bring the person in the present state. And then we can see how the whole heart rate variability and all kinds of data increase. The pH changes, like the person become more alkaline again. So we can see we are a person who, the moment we are afraid, we are not centered, we are not, we cannot resonate as strong with living nature as we're supposed to. And this causes acidity. Of course, other things cause acidity too, like all the mobile phones, electromagnetic waves, the coffee and the sugar and all kinds of stuff. But stress makes sour, we know, makes acid. And what is stress? Is not being present. You are here, but you're supposed to be there, or you want to be there. And this is our society. And this is why we have all this, let's say, cultural diseases, or so many of them.
That's beautiful, Rasmus. So, and you mentioned in passing the work of Eckhart Tolle and J. Krishnamurti. So clearly their theories have had an impact on how you look at providing these therapies that you're developed. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing is, let's start maybe with the water crystals from Emoto. I went to the States, to Japan, and tried to conduct these experiments. And I could see that my mindset, how I am, has an immense impact on the results of the crystals. So the more I'm not in the present state, the less I could get crystals. It's like a lie detector. It's very simple.
Wow.
But a very interesting thing is also, the more I want to make beautiful crystals, the less it works. Because there are two big errors, which means, first of all, there's assumption that there's a disconnection between me and the water. And the second error is that I think I can improve something. I can improve nothing. That's the illusion of me. But the moment I become aware of it, I get coherent with it. And the heart has the biggest electromagnetic field of the whole body, 2,000 times stronger than the brain. And actually the heart gets coherent with the water. And it's not esoteric, it's physics. And it changes the water. This is how I came to this idea. It's not actually my idea doing this, the technique, but to apply this to Emoto's work. I had the big problem with, maybe for the audience is a little bit strange, but you have to Google Emoto if you don't know. Let's go a little bit more distance. All around the world, no matter if it's in Austria or in South America or in Tibet or in China or in Japan, people distinguished between normal water and holy water. In India, you have the Ganges water. We have here in Europe, we have Fatima, or we have Lourdes water. Everywhere you have holy water. Every culture has it. And now you can say either they have all been crazy, or there's a truth behind this. So there is something special with this water. That's just a thing. And now the interesting thing is, if you look under the microscope and you examine this water, you can see beautiful structure, harmonic order and structure. So the water is different. And now I tried to see how can I influence the water the best to make nice results. And then I stumbled over this technology that you measure the heart frequency. And the interesting thing is about the heart, before I made all the things, is that you don't have two heartbeats in your life which are the same. We know that about 90% of your thoughts, at least my thoughts, are repetitive. What I've thought about the crisis or about politics or whatever is pretty much the same like yesterday. But my heartbeat is always new. So the center of life, for me, the most beautiful...
You're saying always new. I'm sorry to interrupt, because the audience should hear this, that there is no single heartbeat that is repeated again in your lifetime.
Exactly. And I even go further. There will not be one human being who has the same heartbeat twice like another. Not even one Chinese person, there's so many, or whatever, one European, whoever has the same heartbeat like another person. And why is it like this? Because if we measure the time distance from one heartbeat to the next, there's a time difference. And if we measure from the second to the third, is again a time difference. This is called heart rate variability. We measure this in milliseconds. But our technology is not so good yet. If we would measure this in microseconds, picoseconds, femtoseconds, very, very small, we would see that there is not one distance exactly the same like the second. Never. The more small. And now the interesting thing is that the water can react on the smallest vibration, on the very smallest vibration. The smaller the vibration, the bigger the reaction. This means that the moment, for example, the fertilized egg starts to divide, mother and father created a baby. The vibration surrounding the baby is always unique, which means it's always a unique baby or a unique life form or a unique leaf outside. And the same we have in the water crystals. And when I saw this, the similarity that you don't have two heartbeats in your life which are the same, and you don't find two water crystals, snowflakes, ever the same. There has never been found two snowflakes the same. This is amazing, no?
That
never.
is amazing. Yeah.
And if I go now behind me the tree and I would examine every leaf, I would not find two leaves which are 100% identical. And this is life. So for me, the center of life is our heart, not only because it pumps beautiful blood around, but I think the heart is the conductor of our body. The heart is communicating. My heart is communicating with your heart or with my son's heart. Why? Because this electromagnetic field is so strong and they are influencing each other. And this is, you can measure the electromagnetic field of the heart up to 6 meters nowadays. So one heart and the other heart connects. And back to Dr. Emoto's work, before I started developing my technology, I'll explain you in a second. I saw that if I take the heart frequency of a person, no matter who, a little child, old fellow, a sick person, a healthy person, I always get beautiful crystals. This was for me, this was my turning point in my life. You can say one of my there's many turning points, but this was really a big mind blower for me. And so this was the work. That's what I do today. I translate the heart frequency.
But here's my question, right? So you translate the heart frequency, and you explained beautifully the whole concept of heart rate variability. And the first time I heard this, when I first met you in Vienna many years ago, I was blown away because I never thought about it that, right? But your work, as I'm sure our audience will see, as you share slides of your work, but your work has a deep philosophical approach, which first you shunned when your journey started, right? Because you're like, this is, and then your exposure set, and you mentioned two names, which I'm coming back to, Eckhart Tolle and J. Krishnamurti. I just want to know a little bit, and I'm sure the audience is curious too, and how their philosophies had an impact on your work. Because a lot of us try to do work where we want to connect with the bigger good, with a bigger picture, which is called the truth of the Brahman being the big cosmos.
I try to make it brief because that's actually a very important question. Let's start like this. I was always, as a child, you can call it a problem child, because I had always problem with authority. If a teacher said, do this, I ask why. And he said, if you have to do this, don't ask why. I always ask why. That's the question is my force of life, I would say, and when I read I grew up in a family with a lot of seekers. My father is very much into Sufism. My aunt is into Buddhism. My grandmother was very strict Catholic. My mother is Protestant. So I'm completely a breed from all directions, you can say. And all were seekers, and everybody was right and everybody was wrong. And I thought I had a problem with authority. And authors, as I read, Krishnamurti says somehow this is the origin. You are the authority. You are the source itself. And it's not that I don't know anything, but for me it was like always the question. How should I say? We always seek outside all kinds of answers, and for me was just the very interesting thing is that the authority of our own thought and how the thought actually determines all our life, and that the thought, if you grow up in Saudi Arabia, you're 99% Muslim, and if you grow up in India, you're Hindu. If you grow up in Europe, in Austria, you're a Christian. So that's our conditioning. So for me, belief, that's now maybe very hard, but you ask me, is romantic thinking. romantic conditioned thinking. But the moment you are present, 100% present, looking at me, I'm looking at you, we don't have to believe we are being, we are human beings. And this is essential. So this is the to be and not to do. And I think the beauty is about, now let's go back to medicine. Our body makes every second up to 40 million body cells, 40 million in 1 second. There's an intelligence we can hardly comprehend, we can hardly understand. So I thought, we have nowadays, we have 44,000 diseases, but we have one health. And I think the center of health is our heart. And this is how I started to translate the, let's say, the authority or the origin of life from the heart. And this was somehow the step. But to talk about Krishnamurti, this was actually just to question your thoughts and your beliefs, and just to question. Every time you are convinced about something, question it again. The moment you are convinced, actually you already got stuck. The question is the driving force, and this is beautiful. And so this is, and to be present, and the heart is always present, because the moment you think, you're in a horizontal movement. Thinking is based on the past, on memories, but the moment you're 100% present, you don't think. And the moment I think, I disconnect from you. That's the interesting thing is. But the moment I'm completely present, I'm in coherent with the other person. And that's, you don't need any belief. It's very simple.
You know, this topic is so engaging. I think we're going to have to invite you back to just talk about coherence and resonance as philosophical underpinnings. You know, I think you already have the title for the next one, because we could talk about this for hours, because there is so much truth there.
I'm afraid to dig into this, because then I get lost there. But this is absolutely, the word sensation comes from senses. And the moment we really feel, we use our senses, it's beautiful. You just get, and you don't comment it. And that's just beautiful. Yeah.
That's just beautiful. And human being, not human doing. You know, that's what we call human beings.
And back to the water, and people want to change the water by their prayers. If the moment a prayer for me is not to the purpose of changing anything, for me, what is his name? Greg Braden wrote a beautiful book. The ancient way of praying is not to say, dear God, please bring me richness and I don't know, a big motorbike. The prayer was more to, how to say, to feel what is rain like, to get resonance with the rain, or what is not being hungry alike, or whatever. This is a kind of prayer, not like reward.
Well, I call it the frequent flyer club. Yeah, you know, that you pray a lot, and you pray more so you can get more benefits. Exactly. You know, that's not how it works. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Well, listen, this is such a beautiful conversation, but let's pivot a little bit to your work, because you know, there's so much that the audience would get. I
explained before, there's something it's called heart rate variability, which means you have not two heartbeats which are the same. And what I do, I translate this frequency of the heart to sound and light. I will just jump a little bit back and forward, because this is because there are there's too much information. The main principle here is the principle of resonance. If you have a tuning fork and you hit the tuning fork, the other tuning fork starts to vibrate. But the other tuning fork only vibrates if it has the same tuning. If it has a different tuning, it won't vibrate. So you hit one tuning fork, the other tuning fork vibrates. But if it has the same tuning, just 1 octave or 2 octaves higher, it also vibrates. So on a piano, everybody, that's very brief, just to understand the principle, what I'm doing. If you have a piano with strings at home, not a piano, electric piano, a real piano, and you hit any string, let's say the Do, and you go with your fingernails over the other strings, you will see that the next Do and the next Do and the next Do, they all start to vibrate automatically on your finger. They will give a noise on your finger. And the mathematical symbol of infinity is the laying 8. It comes from music. Mathematics derives from music. It derives actually probably from India, but they made the first calculations. I will show later how they calculated the chakras probably. So the chakra lights. And so this you can continue. And this is a principle we have everywhere in nature. So for example, if I make a fist and I shake before because I'm angry or freezing, I shake between 8 and 12 hertz about. And that's more or less the same frequency like the Schumann frequency. So the first level of the Schumann frequency. So Mother Earth vibrates the muscle cells get coherent, changing the pH, as I explained before, and we get electricity. We don't get electricity only by oxidizing carbohydrates and fats and all kinds of stuff. So this is a resonance phenomena we have with Mother Earth. And what I'm doing is this principle from hitting one tuning fork and all the other overtones react, I do with the heart. So we measure the heart frequency between 0 and 0.4 hertz. Yes, that's what we measure in the autonomic nervous system. And now imagine our area where we can listen, where we can hear, is about 20 to 20,000 hertz. And the area we can see is about 400 to 800 trillion hertz. Okay, and now you have to imagine our heart emits a vibration. And another tuning fork, just the same, just many octaves higher, says, hey, I'm exactly the same one. And they resonate. And then in English, you say sound color. So if you hit the La, for example, and you calculate the La up, it will shine yellow-orange, a yellow-orange mixture. And if you put the Do, Re, Mi, Fa, it will shine green. So that's the interesting thing, that sound and color are completely connected. Of course, one is electromagnetical and one is a physical wave. I can explain this in detail, but we don't have time for that. So this is the calculation. We start by the number 1. Mathematics starts by 1, not by 0.75 or whatever. It starts by 1. And we start doubling 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and so on. And this is 1, I say, is Do, Re, Mi, Fa. And then these are all fifths intervals. And if I start to calculate this, I hope you can see this. 1, you see here on the left side, it's Do, Si, Do. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 8, and so on and so on. You go up to trillion hertz. And then you divide it by the speed of light. And then you get the nanometer, how it's called, the wavelength. So 1 is green. And now the interesting thing is, if you play music, you play actually color. And if you go back to the Indians, when they had the chakras, this is mind-blowing. How did they know that the heart chakra is green? I don't know. That's amazing, because I didn't have the calculator I had. Because for me, the first chakra is not the base chakra. This is an error, my assumption. Prove me wrong, I'm completely fine with everything. But it must make sense. The first organ which develops is not something down there. It's the heart. When the fertilized cell starts to divide, it's the heart. The center of life is the heart. So 1 is the heart. And if I take 1 and I octavate this up, it becomes green. And if I take 2, what is it? It becomes blue. We have the throat. And this is how it goes. Everything goes in a vortex. I have never read this anywhere, and maybe I'm completely crazy. I don't care, but this makes sense. Things must make sense. I don't believe nothing. This is my strong side and my weak side, that I'm not a believer. I always want to check things. This is my science, maybe background. So suddenly I saw, wow, music and the chakras and the colors, they completely fit together. It's so beautiful. And now we take the heart rate variability. Everybody
just very quickly, Rasmus, what you just mentioned about the Anahat chakra, which is the heart chakra, being the source of all life and all energy systems, is actually very accurate, because the Muladhar, the idea of coming from the bread and going up, is not necessarily how it works. It's, if you look at the tantric system, that it's really saying that the green, Anahat, is where it's already starting, and then your willpower goes. So you go up and down from the Anahat, and then the Do Re Mi Fa that we do in Western music is then translated into lam, wam, yam, ram, like that. So there's a sound which is connected to the chakra, which is connected to the calculations you just showed. So it's really interesting how different parts of the world have different representations, but the truth is the same. So sorry, I just wanted to put in that little bit and back.
Beautiful. We have to go deeper with that. We have to talk about this, because I'm so interested in that, and I'm just surprised how they knew about this thousands of years ago. This is just amazing. So I mean, how they built all this amazing buildings around the world is amazing too. So there's a lot of knowledge we cannot understand how they get it from, but that's just amazing. So let's go back to the heart rate variability. So we have always different heartbeats, and what I do, this we can jump out. Yeah, this is maybe also interesting thing. The moment you start to think, your variability decreases, your heartbeat becomes more similar. The moment you are completely present, your heartbeat becomes variable. And now the interesting thing is, I say, for example, our eye, our eyesight is a focus organ. I focus on my finger, I cannot focus on you. So the same is with my thought. I cannot say 2 plus 2 is 4, and later, I don't know, I go for a drink. I can just do it one after another. So the moment we think, we can just have one thought at a time. The moment we focus, we bring it to the point and the variability decreases. And we are a society of focus all the time. We focus on all the problems. We're never present. We always focus. And the moment the variability decreases more and more and more, we train our heart to the heart attack, which is cause of death number 1. And we talked about Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti said a beautiful sentence. He said, analysis is paralysis. And we can see it in our heart. The moment we analyze something, we get stuck with the little knowledge we know, and the heart rate variability decreases. So this is very interesting. Okay, so this is what we do. We translate this into sound and color. And I want to explain you this. Just before that, maybe you see here, I have a light here on my table, and this light is developed from us. It translates my voice into light. So if I play a do, I can take here a do. I hope you can hear it. I play a do. The light shines green. And if I play a la, you can see this maybe here somewhere. If I play a la, 432 hertz. So you can see, these are not coincidence colors like in the discotheque. It's translating this frequency, or it translates my talk. My talk is translated into light here. And now what I'm doing now, I just have to start the program. Together with 3 universities, I developed a technology which translates your heart frequency into light and sound. And back to Krishnamurti, because we talked about him today. For me, the source is your heart. And your heart knows much more than probably we ever will know about coherence and resonance and life force and so on. So I thought, why should I change always from outside the person? I just want somehow to give this perfect being a human is and translate it into a frequency range we understand. And this is sound and light. The oldest form of music of therapy is music therapy. Every mother, when a child is sick, what is a mother doing? She puts the baby on her heart and she starts humming. She doesn't put the baby on her brain. She puts her on her heart and she starts humming. And every mom on the world is doing this to give the baby this comfort. And so music therapy, it's the oldest form of therapy. And I want to show now, I have my son here next to me. Maybe you can see him here a little. Yes. Tobias, and I connect him. This is our module, just that you can, I don't know if you see me now, Appa? I don't know.
Yes, yes, we can see you. We can see Tobias. Hi, Tobias. Thanks for doing this.
Okay, so what we are doing, I connect him with electrodes. I take his heart frequency, and I hope that we can hear the sound, because there's so much noise here just in the moment, but now it's a bit silent. Okay, so I write his name inside.
Tobias.
I take a sound. Let's start with the harps. I normally use harps. And let's hear if we can hear him. So now his heart is already translated into light. So if it shines yellow, he just played a do. If it shines blue, he played a do, a re. If it shines green, he played a do, and so on. So it's his heart translated into light. It's not my voice anymore. Okay, and here
and you have fixed the sensors on him, and
I put before the show, I put the electrodes on his chest.
Okay.
Here we can see his heart rate variability. Here we can live see sympathetic, parasympathetic, stress level, all the different parameters of him. So we can really see how strong he is. My son has an amazing variability. He has a bigger variability than my 3 girls together. Amazing variability. This is why he can be on the half pipe 2 hours. I'm just tired watching 5 minutes. So this is actually, it's some are very talented. The heart rate variability is we don't have time to go in detail with this, but this is very, very interesting. Okay, so
yeah, we'll have you back for that. But this is right now live signal from his heart. that's getting translated.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Live, the light is also live. And now we listen to the music. I hope you can hear it. You can hear the sound?
Yes, we can.
This is played by his heart. I didn't compose this yesterday night.
Mm.
And the therapist, I have this technology now in 27 countries, people working from all kinds of fields, from shaman to oncologist, to from children birth center to psychiatric clinics, from craniosacral to schools working with this. Now, just today, a lady called, she works with horses. We connected horses also, because you can connect. And the beauty is, I can connect two people. So I can connect you with me, or you with your mom, or whoever. I can connect myself with my dog. And the thing, I can listen when I connect myself to another person, how the two hearts become coherent. They start. So now I give him.
And just to clarify that, when you are in coherence, like say if you had two hearts doing that, that is therapeutic, because you're showing coherence between the two, right?
Exactly. Because for me, healing, I don't know what healing is. That's medicine has patented healing. But healing for me takes place when you get, first of all, when you relax. That's of course obvious. You cannot heal when you run and you're in fight and stress. So the moment we sleep and we go in deep relaxation, we heal. But for me, the healing also is that we are in coherence with Mother Nature, with our surrounding. So we also heal each other. So if I take your heart frequency and the frequency of your friend or your mom or your neighbor, the two hearts, because hearts always want to get coherent. It's not esoterics, it's physics. It's like two metronomes. Your heart and the heart of your neighbor, no matter if he's black or white or Chinese or Russian or Austrian, hearts don't distinguish. They want to get coherent. That's physics. That's like two metronomes. The brain says, oh, with this strange guy, I don't want to get connected. The brain separates people, but the heart connects people. And that's physics. That's just a fact. And so what I can do, I can connect Tobias with his girlfriend and let him play two instruments, and she plays two instruments. So I divide the heart frequency into 4 parts, let 2 parts of his heart and 2 parts of her heart play. And then you can listen how the 2 hearts get coherent. On my website, aquaquinta.com, you can get many sound samples. But now I will let him play violin. So now we have here Tobias. And he plays now. No, there's a bad connection. 1 second. Just have a connection problem.
No problem.
No, I can hear because it doesn't sound as it's supposed to. I don't know what happens.
So the 4 frequencies on the left are is basically 4 frequencies of the violin. Right?
Yes, but I have just a connection issue. I don't know why it's. I take the light out. I don't know. He just had our cat on his lap. Okay, now I have him here again.
Yes.
Okay, einfach ruhig sitzen. Wonderful. Okay, now. And now I could hear right away that the connection was bad. Now you can hear it sounds much different. Now there's still a connection error. I don't know what happens. Somehow, probably when
it's okay. I mean, we get the idea here and how. So
yeah,
basically, the coherence is, so if Tobias and his girlfriend were connected with 2 chords each, they are doing a dance through your heart rate variability meter, and you are able to put that through music, and thereby you're creating quote unquote a healing modality, which is coherence and resonance. Yeah.
Exactly. But at the moment I have connection problems. Now it's coming. Okay, this is always we call it the effect of live presentation. Now it works. Now he's singing overtone. You know overtone singing? I love overtone singing. We can beautifully see how his heart beats here. And we can listen how his heart is playing.
Fantastic.
And here in the background, I don't know if you can you see the library here? See the library? You can see the piano. You can see the piano plot, how it's, so his heart is somehow is how to say, is pressing the keys of the piano.
Fantastic.
So this is so the idea, and he can sing anything. He can, we can have rain and crystal balls and all instruments. So the therapist becomes the conductor, you know, like in an orchestra, but the musician is the one who plays. So it's, my idea here is that there is nothing more beautiful in the whole universe than the person himself. And the interesting thing is, you can have an old person sick with disease, whatever diagnosis. The moment the person becomes present, he will play beautifully. And you can have a top model 90, 60, 90. I don't know, we make jokes in Germany about the sizes, whatever. And the moment she is in her head, she's not touching you. She's not, Emoto always talked, he called Sound of Soul the SOS. The moment he gets in coherence and plays beautifully, we call it the goose pimp effect. It really touches me, and I can hear it. If he goes too much in his head and it's not like in the flow with the sound, you can literally hear it. And the therapist starts to become like a conductor and starts to emphasize one sound, take the other sound back, and so on. So this is what I'm doing. And I just stopped the Sound of Soul here. And of course, at the end, you can measure all the HRV data. You can see how it has changed, how all the parameters change. This is very important. But the most important thing for me is that the person encounters his or her uniqueness in, which is for me the heart, in sound and light. And this is what I'm doing. And as I said, I have this in so many fields now, and training doctors and therapists and healers and musicians. It's so funny. It's beautiful.
Well, Rasmus, your talk, as always, is super inspiring, because what the basic point is, even if people don't understand technology and science and how everything works, is that living in coherence and resonance, right? And living in your anahat, which is in your heart chakra, is really what one should be doing if you're going to be creating anything that is useful for humanity or for people around you, you know, whether it's in a small microcosm or in the big societal world. Your work is tremendous. I mean, I've always loved your analysis and the way you present it, and you know, how you relate it to common parlance as against being, I mean, what people, I'm sure, are realizing when they're seeing this show is that this is technology heavy, but your presentation always comes across in its beauty because of the simplicity that you communicated with, right? So for that, deep thanks, and we must have you back to talk more about J. Krishnamurthy and Eckhart Tolle, and also Dr. Emoto's work. So we are getting close to our end of time. So we have a few questions that have come as direct messages. One message for Tobias is from one of our audience members is cool hairstyle. You know. And the question that I think we have time for one question. If you had a wish list for a project, right? Or a sector that you would like to heal in the next 5 years, what would that be?
Well, I didn't develop Sound of Soul to heal people, because I don't look at myself as a healer. I can hardly help myself. How should I help you? I'm not a healer. I'm a scientist. I try to make research, but I wanted actually I want to change something. I mean, at heart, I'm still a Greenpeace activist, maybe not the organization, but I want to do something good for this planet. And I see that you see this corrupt society. What we see nowadays, I threw 1 year ago television out of my house because I cannot look at all this nonsense anymore. And I want to, we always corrupt each other, but I want, while I'm cheating you, corrupting you, my heart tries to get coherent with you. And I want, while the Palestine is killing the Jew and the other way around, the two hearts tries to get coherent. Yes, and I want to change something. And I want to show in a scientific term that the black and the white, or the woman and the man, or whoever, that the hearts get coherent. And I'm developing now a new system where you can connect several systems and develop this. And I want to show that the moment we sit together, we sing, we dance, love each other, have fun, make jokes, that our hearts get coherent. The moment we argue, our heart frequency gets less coherent. And then we can understand that our brain is the cause of the problems. And Einstein said, you cannot change the problems on the world with the approaches which has caused them. And our brain, we can see how corrupt we are. All the world is corrupt. And I want to contribute that we do something good. It's actually for our kids. So this is actually the vision, how to say, to show in a scientific term, of course, that we have the side results of side effects of healing. I don't claim any healing because I say he is healing himself, but I take his frequency and mirror it back. But the thing is, we also heal each other. After the beauty thing. When we get coherent. And actually, this is my vision to develop this further. I give lecture every day after tomorrow. I have my next lecture, and 3 days ago I had a lecture. I try to share this and develop this further, maybe find sponsors and partners, because I cannot do all this by myself. And the beauty is, of course, like a nice project we talked in the States when I met you was, you could, for example, illuminate a whole stadium or the Empire State Building with your own heart light. That's amazing. Imagine how fun. There could be many funny projects we could have together.
Yeah, I mean, it was too bad that the pandemic came in the middle. Otherwise, we would have had you back here working on that project of connecting people's hearts to how the buildings or the city should be lit. That's it. Yeah. That's a new frontier that we would love to explore with you. So, well, this is fantastic, Rasmus, and hope you would come back and be our guest again to talk more about the different theories that have gone into your work. And I love the way you say that you're not a healer. Yes, you're a facilitator. You can't, you said this to me before as well, that listen, I can't help myself. How do I heal other people? Which is a beautifully humble way of communicating the work that we do, the work that you do. So, kudos to you for that. Lots of love to you for that. And thank you for being on our show and for our.
And maybe I may say just my own little, you see, Aqua Quinta, I have to make a little bit, how to say. Yes, if people are interested, they can, of course, go to my website. I'm very easy to find in the internet. There are many lectures I give more in detail about this. And yes, everybody's very welcome to contact me if they have questions about, if they want to work with it or anything, that's fine. So
fantastic. So his website is aquaquinta.com. On that note, I also want to thank our channel partners, which is our sister company called Soul Studio, for being a part of this show and organizing another incredible talk. I mean, I am so psyched for the information that Rasmus has shared, that that it's leaving you with, what's the word that I'm overwhelmed. So it's like, when you meet people who do work like this, right? It inspires you, to do more in whatever you're doing, to see the passion of, that goes behind Rasmus's work, and do the best that we can in our sphere. So thank you again to our guest, Rasmus. Thank you all for your support and your love, and we will see you very soon.